As discussed in the first lecture, the objective of this course is not just to learn how to program a computer, but also to use computers for solving problems. We have also looked at computational systems from the hardware, software, and application aspects. Towards the end of the last lecture, we have seen our first Java program, and you should have gotten the opportunity to play with your Java programs in the BlueJ integrated development environment. In this lecture, we are going to cover some elementary programming concepts, including primitive data types, identifiers and variables, assignment statements, and arithmetic expressions. The Java programs that you have seen so far deal mainly with character strings, that is, text symbols represented as strings of characters. Computer systems nowadays are widely used for processing textual information. For example, word processing systems such as Microsoft Word would take mostly text as input and output nicely formatted text documents. Search engines such as Google or Baidu are software systems that search for information from web documents that contain mostly textual information on the World Wide Web. However, computers in the early days are designed mainly for dealing with numbers. From ancient times, human has recognized its weaknesses in dealing with numbers and has built devices to help them in doing calculation. For example, the Chinese abacus, often referred to as the first calculating device, was invented over 4,000 years ago. The most powerful computers nowadays are still designed mainly for dealing with numbers. For example, in applications such as weather modeling, bioinformatics, and financial modeling. Let's now take a look at some examples that deal with numbers in problem solving. Following the problem solving steps that we have discussed last time, let's consider a simple problem that you may encounter in a course like this. Your performance in a course would be assessed through different activities. For example, your final grade in a course could depend on your performance in the examinations, labs, and homework assignments, but they are not weighted equally. Usually, examination would carry a heavier weight, so the problem that you are trying to solve here is to compute the final grade as a weighted combination of your performance in exams, labs, and homework. The first step is to analyze what information is needed in solving the problem. Clearly, you need the scores for exams, labs, and homework. Think about what else would be needed in computing the final grade. Think about that, and I'll come back to this later. The problem can be formulated by specifying a set of input and output. In this case, the scores in the exam, labs, and homework would need to be provided as input. The course may require multiple exams, labs, and homework. But for simplicity, let's assume that we have an aggregated score for each of those components. The output for this problem is quite obvious. We want the final grade, which is a weighted sum of the scores, as output. So what additional information is needed? As mentioned, we use different weights for different assessed components, so a set of weights would need to be specified. One point to note is that while the scores could differ from student to student, the weights should be the same for all students in a course, and they are usually predetermined and fixed at the beginning of the course. After we have gained a good understanding of the problem, we can start solving the problem by specifying an algorithm. As discussed last time, an algorithm is a sequence of instructions that can lead to a solution to the problem. As noted in the problem analysis stage, we need to specify a set of predetermined weight. Let's put that down as the first step. We would then need to obtain the scores for exams, lab, and homework. Once we have all the inputs, we can start computing the final score. It is helpful to expand this step further, as it may not be obvious what is it mean by weighted sum of scores. So we can specify how the individual weighted scores can be computed, and then the weighted sum would be to add up all the weighted scores. After the final score is computed, it will be output to the user for inspection.